Hey everyone, Manga Matt here, and no review this time, but I figured, I was on hiatus for a while, so I thought I'd throw in an extra video that I was wanting to do. And this one is comparing American comics to manga. Now, I collect a lot of American comics, about as much as the average Joe does. Like, some ones I am currently collecting are Invincible, Invincible Iron Man, Immortal Iron Fist, Wednesday Comics, Blackest Night, Umbrella Academy, The Muppet Show, the comic. So, I do have a fairly decent amount of understanding of how the American comic works versus the manga. So, here we go. The big differences between manga and American comics. For those of you that are a fan of one and not the other or something. Okay, so manga, first off, is written generally from a right to left format. So they go sort of like this, while American comics, go sort of like a regular book. They go from left to right, like here. And so, Vertical actually says that in their books that this does make you smarter, which I'm not sure how accurate that is. It definitely makes your brain work a different way because it's having to, look at things different, sort of like if you were brushing your teeth with the wrong hand or something. So, I don't know how much that is, but it's something different. So, there's that. Alright, another big difference is that most American comics, like DC and Marvel, are not creator-owned, which leads to, bizarre storylines like the Green Goblin becoming leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., or, something else bizarre like that. Spider-Man making a deal with Mephisto and forgetting that he ever fell in love with Mary Jane. Pretty sure Steve Ditko and Stan Lee never wanted that to happen if they happen to own the character. That is the main reason why Stan Lee has to do all those crappy cameos in all of the Marvel movies, because he doesn't own Spider-Man or Fantastic Four or Incredible Hulk. It's sort of like whenever a engineer signs a contract with a company saying that anything he invents there, they legally own. The guy that invented the iPod for Apple is not getting a single kickback from all of those sales. As far as anything legal stands, Apple invented the iPod, not that individual. So that is different from manga, which is usually creator-owned and is far more respectable career in Japan than in America. In America you say, I write and draw comics, and people are like, ew. But in Japan they're like, very good, respectable. Please marry my daughter. Something like that. In fact, even in about 2005, 2006, Rumiko Takahashi was the richest woman in Japan, according to her tax returns, which, if you think about it, is a very big thing. I mean, think about it. If a writer of comics in America was even the 1,000th richest man on the list in the U.S., that would be still impressive. But Rumiko was #1 in Japan, which, Japan is not a poor country by any means. Alright, next thing is that manga, unlike comics, usually does not accrue any value. That's usually because manga is written on sort of this cheaper paper, which, will deteriorate, while comics are written more on this glossy, paper material that is practically indestructible by time. And so, you'll have comics like from the 60s and 70s that are worth maybe $50 or $60 an issue, or even like Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man was worth like $10 or $20 on some issues. But generally, manga does not usually get that big in pricing. In fact, most of the time, manga actually loses value over time because, it's like, I own it, I'm trying to get rid of it here. So, that's another thing. If if you want to try and get stuff that's cheaper, it's definitely manga, because manga is gonna give you more bang for your buck. Also, another thing is just the way that manga is drawn and written. You know, there's lots of scene transitions where you see where they are, and then it pans to the characters themselves. Like, you'll see the building that they're in, and then you go inside the building with the characters. That is a unique kind of transition that is usually generally in Japan, because Japan feels that it's more important where you are right now than where you're going in a story or an idea. So that's very much sort of their philosophy in their writing. So if you want to see a very different sort of way of doing cartooning or writing a comic, manga is also another great idea there. Another thing to note about differences between manga and comics. Well, at least anyway, there's, you know, scanlations. I mean, you know, it's not looked upon well, but I mean, you know, everyone does it. And, you know, scanlations is one thing where you can look at the end of a story. You know, maybe you just need to make it to the end of that next chapter to see how things work out. So there is that option for manga, that you can look on the internet and see what's going to happen before it comes to America, which you really don't get with American comics, because there's sort of a bigger stranglehold on that whole notion. Another thing about manga, if you collect manga in America, you are probably never going to get them signed or meet the artist or anything at a convention. Just because, I guess, you know, they're in Japan, you're in America. The closest thing you can get is maybe meeting the English adaptation writer for the manga. Like, you can meet Keith Griffith, who worked on the Battle Royale series, or Kelly Sue DeConnick, who worked on Blue Spring and the Slam Dunk series. You can get it signed by them, but that's really about as far as you can take it. Like, I've met Eric Larson, I've met Robert Kirkman,